Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and today I have day 3 of my Christmas in July card set. And this was kind of a fun one to put together because I had similar stuff already sitting on my desk and I wanted to create a card that was completely different but using similar items that I used in my last card. So I am going to make a mini slimline card for this one. So I've cut down a base cardstock here to 6 by 6 inches. And then I'm going to cut a piece of HammerMill Cardstock. This is about 1/4 of an inch smaller than my base. And then I'm going to cut a piece of the Tim Holtz Sparkle Classics. So this is the same cardstock I used last week because in a pack you get silver and you get gold. So this is obviously gold, and the last video I used silver. So I'm going to cut a piece of this down to be about 1/8 of an inch smaller than my slimline base. So my slimline base, once scored, will be 3 inches by 6 inches. So this is just to create a really thin border of that gold going around the panel that we're going to ink blend on. And here you can see I'm just scoring it at that 3-inch mark. So it is now a 3-inch by 6-inch card base, because that's what I like to do for my mini slimlines. I've seen other sizes, and you're going to see the stencil that I'm going to use is actually sized for a slightly different size of mini slimline, but I don't really mind. I use what I have and I just make it work for what I'm using. But I do have a stencil set from Simon Says Stamp. This is the mini slimline masks and stencils. You get both the mask piece and the stencil piece in this set. And I'm using the smallest from that set. And I'm just kind of trying to eyeball line it up. It does have marks on it for where you would line it up, but I make my mini slimline slightly smaller than what they are doing, and I've trimmed it down. So I kind of had to line it up, and then I'm going to use a little bit of mint tape just to make sure it stays where it is and that the stencil can't shift so that I don't get blending outside of the areas that I kind of want that color in. And I am going to do a pink and gold card. If you've been with me for any of the Julys that I've been now doing these cards, you guys will probably know that I love a pink and gold card, and I especially love a pink and gold Christmas card. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. I just get really drawn to pink and gold together. So that is what I was thinking for this card. And I already had some of these supplies sitting on my desk. So I thought it would be really fun to just create a card that like screams what I love about Christmas cards. So, because there's so much versatility in Christmas cards. I mean, you can make traditional, you can make non-traditional, you can do stuff with snowflakes, or you can have trees, or you can have like Christmas cards. I think are some of the most fun to make because they're just so versatile and you can do so many different things and still have them turn out stunning. So I really enjoy Christmas cards. This is why Christmas in July is always kind of a fun season for videos, just because I have so much fun making them. So you saw the 3 Oxide inks that I used to blend. I used Spun Sugar into Kitsch Flamingo into Picked Raspberry, and that's created my blend across the panel there. And I am going to flick on some Perfect Pearls that I keep mixed up in a little mini mister bottle. I'm going to flick them on before I remove the mask because I wanted them to stay within that colored panel. I am going to have the snowflakes go outside of the colored panel, so that kind of gives you that variation in dimension. But I didn't want the little splatters to go outside of the colored panel. So here you see I've lifted off the pan of the stencil now, so you can kind of get an idea of how cool that color looks. I mean, and honestly, I think it might be slightly askew, but I don't care because it's still super pretty. You know, it's one of those things where like, I don't really aim for perfection. I think it's more important that I make a card that I'm really excited about than aim for a perfect card. So yeah, that's kind of my aim there. So the Sparkles cardstock it's printed, right? So it's a craft cardstock that is being printed. That sparkly top is printed on. So it is a bit textured, and it is a bit, I don't know the right word for it. It has a coating, I think. So because it has that slight coating, I didn't get it to cut through the first time with my Magic Mat. And I honestly think that that's just because the Magic Mat shifts because it doesn't crack, right? So it just doesn't cut quite nicely through there. Not a big deal. You can see that I brought in my chrome plate and I ran it through with that, and I'm just double checking that it actually did cut before I lift off those dies and then have to try to lay them back down. And it did cut through with one pass through with my chrome plate, so no problem there. But be aware that there is like a slight coating on this, as there is, I've found personally, with pretty well every glitter cardstock. That's kind of a normal thing to get that glitter look. I just find that sometimes, like Yupo, I have to be a little bit aware of when I'm cutting through it so that I can get a good clean cut. So that's just me. I mean, maybe other people don't have that issue and it's just me being having an issue, but I find that if I'm just a little bit more aware of it and I bring out the right tools like the chrome plate, because it's for precision cutting, and these are fairly detailed dies. I don't have this problem with, open dies, but I do find that I struggle a little bit with the more detailed and delicate dies. And then these are the Tim Holtz mini paper snowflakes. I brought them back in. So you saw them in the last video, and I used them on that shaker card when I created it with that silver cardstock. So this is the gold cardstock that comes in the exact same pack as the silver cardstock. And then these are the exact same dies, but a completely different card. A completely different feel, just a completely different look. Like I don't know, guys, I just have so much fun making these cards. So I am going to do all of July as Christmas in July. Other years, I know that I've done, like Mondays would be the Christmas cards, and then Thursdays I would do kind of whatever project I wanted. But I figured this year, because I've been having so much fun making the Christmas cards, that I'm just going to do Christmas the whole month. Other than, I believe I'm going to be a part of a collab at the end of the month, which won't be a Christmas card because it'll be a completely separate card to that hop. But more on that later. I think the details are still kind of being figured out. So that's like your sneak peek heads up that there will be an extra card this month. So we will do 9 cards of Christmas, and then we will have 1 extra card close to the end of the month. So that's kind of like your extra look into what's going on for my crafting this month. And then I did use my pokey tool to gently poke out all of my snowflakes. They came out beautifully once I kind of cut with that chrome plate. And then I'm going to adhere my blended panel on top of my glittery panel. And I am going to put my Misti on top of it. This was just because I wasn't totally sure how well this would stick to that kind of glittery piece. And you could have cut the snowflakes out of the center of this if you wanted to. I generally don't. I don't really like to do that, but you absolutely can if you're worried about saving on the cardstock. I find I don't use a lot of glitter cardstock, so I don't really have a problem not cutting into it, but absolutely you need to do what works for you, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, so you do what works for you. So I did lay my snowflakes out across my panel, and you can see that I do have 5 because, again, as you know, I love uneven numbers. That's kind of my preference. And I do have them sticking outside of the colored piece just to add more interest. So I kept the Perfect Pearls powder, like the mixed up stuff that I flicked on, I did keep that within the border of the color, and then my snowflakes are going to go outside of it. So you kind of get this really interesting texture. You'll see it a little better when I hold the card up and actually turn it in the light, and so you can see the Perfect Pearls a bit better. But you get this really cool look where one is kind of within the bounds of the color and the other one goes outside of, but you have sparkle just everywhere. And shockingly, I did not add extra sparkle to this, mostly because last video I did like everything sparkle. And of course, Amber had to come and check it out. She had to give her seal of approval on my card. So she's going to do that. She's going to kind of wander through. And then she kind of, after she puts her bum in the camera there, she does leave. And I get to finish adhering my stuff down. And I knew that I wanted to put my sentiment in the lower right corner, right underneath the colored panel part. So I'm not going to adhere the snowflake that I have that overlaps that piece until after I've stamped my sentiment, which I'm going to bring in my Misti for, just because I figured it would be easier to do it after I'd kind of adhered my snowflakes and knew what I wanted for my layout. And this is a really pretty stamp. It literally just says Merry Christmas, and it's from the same stamp set that I've used in the last 2 videos, which is the Joy to You and Yours stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. It's one of those things where it was already sitting on my desk again because I created the other card. And I mean, it's a stamp set. Like you can use it 6 million times. That's its purpose, right? And I do think that it's hard not to get caught up in, purchasing new products and purchasing, because it gets exciting. I'm so excited when people come out with new product. Like I love to watch Tim Holtz lives and see what he's doing and see what's going on and the Simon Says Stamp ones and see what's coming out. But at the same time, I always try to be very aware that I do own things already, and there's nothing wrong with using the same thing 50 million times. You know, like, you own it, you've paid your hard-earned dollars for it. I strongly encourage you to use what you have in your stash. Not that you can't buy more stuff if you want to, absolutely. I do. I'm really bad when Tim Holtz does a new release because I love his stuff, but by all means, don't ever feel like you have to get sucked into buying new things, because you don't. You can, you know, whatever works for you. But I strongly urge you to use what you have. And that's why I kind of try to do videos that show you using the same, like show me using the same products over and over and over, hopefully in slightly different ways if I can come up with them. So you can see that a product can be used multiple different ways. And you can just get a lot of use out of them, because they aren't inexpensive. You know, like, good quality crafting supplies are not cheap. So I do, and I love to support designers I want to see stay in the industry. So I do have a tendency to buy, you know, like the Tim Holtz or the Simon Says Stamp, and they're not inexpensive. So use what you have and use it several times and show it as much love as you can. And yeah, so that's just kind of my thought on crafting. But yeah, so that is the card I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll consider leaving me a like, leaving me a comment, and maybe subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to see my channel grow. So thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.